Hello, everyone.
Good
I think that
morning.
no.
Are we online?
Yes, no, we are on live.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. It's January 20th, 2022. I'm here with Laura um, from Ingwe Immigration. Good morning, everyone. Whoa. A little bit technical issues. We're here to talk about no language requirements for Canadian immigration. If that's the reason you're watching this video, we're going to cover 3 topics or programs where language and education are not 100% mandatory. So that will be business immigration, investor work permits, self-employed, and education stream for international students. So Laura is going to be doing the same session in Spanish right now. So go ahead, Laura, and explain to our Spanish viewers.
Ok. Hola a todas las personas acá de habla hispana. Estamos en otro directo. Hoy jueves 20 de enero. Entonces, les voy a hablar de 3 programas. Vamos a hablar el día de hoy de 3 programas que no se necesita ningún idioma o educación para poder inmigrar a Canadá. Así que vamos a estarlos mencionando cada uno y explicárselos.
Perfect. So the core of this discussion is that you do not require language skills in French or English like IELTS to apply for these programs for Canadian immigration. And I do apologize today. I'm using my mobile phone, so it may be a little bit shaky, just because technical issues with my home internet. So with business immigration, you can actually set up your own business here, start your own business, buy a business, do a joint venture, no matter what. You do not need, it is not mandatory for language requirements to set up a business here. So you can potentially get a work permit without having to take an IELTS or having to prove an IELTS. So remember, if you're a business owner, if you have a business back home or you're a senior manager, you have entrepreneurial skills, you can obtain a work permit to set up a business, obtain a work permit for yourself and for your family to come work and study while you set up the business without language requirements. So the language and education are not 100% mandatory for investment in business. They do give you additional points for the provincial programs, but they are not mandatory for you to obtain a investor work permit to set up a business. So Laura is going to explain that in Spanish, and then I'm going to explain to you about later on how to do the permanent residency, what the potential options are for an investor who has no language skills in French or English. So go ahead,
Ok.
Laura.
La primera opción o la primera vía para inmigrar a Canadá sin necesidad del lenguaje es por medio de ya sea la parte de emprendimientos o de ser dueño de un negocio, porque no se necesita el IELTS en cierta forma y no es obligatorio un nivel de inglés para establecer un negocio. Entonces, la persona que tenga un negocio y quiera establecerlo en Canadá o que sea algún emprendedor y quiera, pues lo mismo, establecer un negocio en Canadá, puede solicitar un permiso de trabajo sin necesidad de algún nivel de inglés o de francés requerido. Eso sí, eso es para emigrar a Canadá. Ya para la residencia permanente cambia un poco la situación y vamos a explicar más de esto pues a continuación.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. So you do come here as an investor. You set up the business, buy a business or whatever with your investor work permit. Your family is here too. So typically how we convert our clients to permanent residency, if they themselves don't have the language requirements, is we get their spouse or partner to convert to PR, right? So you're coming here as an investor. You don't have the language requirements. However, your partner or spouse does. So they will come in as an employee for your own company and potentially gain that Canadian work experience and get those additional points so we can convert them to permanent residency through express entry. Okay, so that is how we would convert your family, the whole family, is through the spouse or partner who would have English. And if none of you have English, then we would only look at the provincial programs because the language requirement is not until much later. And in some provinces, you're allowed a translator during the interview with the provincial immigration office. So that would be the plan. And again, you do not need IELTS or any other language requirement when you're applying for your investor work permit. It is not mandatory. So we'll explain that in Spanish with Laura's help, and then we'll talk about the second program, as there's 3 programs out there today.
Ok. La mayoría de personas cuando suelen ir a Canadá por medio de la inversión, suelen pedir es un permiso de trabajo de inversor y normalmente van con su familia, hijos, esposo, esposa, pareja y entonces en ese caso la persona que estaría aplicando para la residencia permanente sería la pareja. Entonces ahí podría adquirir un año de experiencia en esa misma empresa y luego de adquirir esa experiencia puede aplicar al Express Entry y la pareja es la que sí tendría que tener ese requisito de inglés. Ya cambiaría la situación si en vez de aplicar al Express Entry se aplicaría un Provincial Nominee Program, que lo que hace es solicitar un menor nivel de inglés y aparte de eso son requisitos más fáciles de realizar. Ahora, pues esto es la parte de negocios, de ser dueño de un negocio. Vamos a empezar a hablar del segundo programa.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. So the second program is the self-employed program. In the self-employed, which is also under the economic category, it's for self-employed persons who are in the following industries: culture, art, and athletics. So it could be coaches, referees, professional sports people, cultural professionals, art, music, any of that. If you're self employed and you're in those industries and you are recognized in your industry, there is no mandatory requirement for education or language for this program. And this is a direct permanent residency program, just for your information. It's simple. It's not everybody's eligible. So just being a professional sports person or in the professions of culture or art does not mean automatically you will be accepted. It depends if you're recognized in your industry. However, language and education are not 100% mandatory to be eligible to apply under this program. So go ahead, Laura.
Sure. El segundo programa es si eres o sea, si estás como autoempleado en cierta forma o eres independiente, pero ya en los sectores de cultura, arte y deporte. Reza, can you confirm me? Culture, art and sports? The
Culture,
categories?
sports, and art.
Okay.
So art can include any kind of art, including music or the visual arts or theater arts, movies, any kind of art.
Ok, entonces sí, las 3 categorías que son cultura, arte y deporte. En esas categorías la persona tiene que ser reconocida, por ejemplo, si es arte, ya sea un cantante reconocido o en la parte de actuación, de teatro, si es en la parte de deporte, pues ya es un deportista reconocido y no hay ningún requisito obligatorio por inglés o por educación. Ahí prácticamente lo más complicado es pues que la persona sea reconocida, que es como el principal requisito y es una vía directa para conseguir la residencia permanente. Entonces depende más que todo en el reconocimiento que se tiene esa persona en esa área. Así que ese sería el segundo programa.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. Okay, so we've covered investor work permits, no language requirements are mandatory. We've covered self-employed, which shows that language and education requirements are also not mandatory. And we're going to cover the third section, which is for students, for international students. So if you only have a high school diploma, or if you do have post-secondary and you want to continue your studies here, but you have no language requirements, it is not necessary to have IELTS or TOEFL or TEF or TCF, which is the French exams, to come and study as an international student here in Canada. You can come here, study English, and continue on a pathway. So we call it EAP, English for academic purposes. So you will register in an English school. You will come and study for your English. It could be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, depending on your English level, or French. And then you will get a conditional admission to continue to study at a college or university in Canada. So, again, coming here as an international student does not require proof of language. You can go through a pathway program, which is something that we help all of our clients. If you have any questions, reach out to us on our website. Go ahead, Laura.
Ok, la tercera opción vendría siendo más que todo para los estudiantes internacionales que quieran venir a Canadá a estudiar. Entonces, hay muchas personas que puede que no tenga, que tengan solamente el título de la escuela, del colegio, la graduación, o no tengan un buen nivel de inglés. Entonces, en ese caso, lo ideal sería para emigrar a Canadá, ir como estudiante internacional para estudiar inglés, ya sea un mes, 6 meses, un año, bueno, el tiempo necesario y ya después, con ese pathway, aplicar a un college. O sea, primero que todo, mejorar el inglés.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Laura. So those are the three programs that where for Canadian immigration you do not require the proof of language and or proof of education. They are not mandatory. They're optional. These are the main three programs. And of course, family sponsorship and applying for asylum are also in those categories, but we didn't cover those because not everybody, it's not an option for everyone, right? So also we should mention that to our Spanish viewers, Laura, that
Ujú.
family sponsorship and seeking asylum also don't require anything. It doesn't require money, language, or education.
Ok. Esos fueron los tres programas más que todo en los que pues la mayoría de personas pueden aplicar. Supongamos, hay otro programa como es por medio del patrocinio de la familia, si algún una madre o hijo, lo que sea, es residente permanente que puede hacer que pues ya sea el padre o el hijo consiga también esa residencia permanente, pero es mucho más difícil y no todo el mundo tiene esa posibilidad, entonces por eso mencionamos, fueron los otros tres programas.
Perfect. Yes. So that basically covers all the programs that where you do not require language ability to immigrate to Canada. And remember, all these programs have a path to permanent residency, whether it's direct or indirect. And we are processing these for our clients on a regular basis. Business immigration, international students, provincial programs, federal programs, investor work permits, self employed, study permits, no matter what it is, our office can help with these types of applications. And we're here every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and Thursday, 9 a.m. North America Eastern Standard Time, to help answer your questions and to discuss these options that are available for potential immigrants from both inside or outside of Canada.
Para
Go ahead,
decir un
Laura.
poco y resumir un poco lo que está diciendo Resta, es que nosotros podemos ayudarlos a ustedes en todos, la mayoría de procesos, como lo es bueno, la visa de turismo, la visa de negocios, el permiso de estudio, también establecer un negocio en Canadá, el permiso de trabajo, toda la parte de patrocinio de la familia para conseguir la residencia permanente. Y en todos esos aspectos relacionados con inmigración, pues nosotros estamos aquí, podemos ayudarlos. Entonces, para que lo tengan presente.
Perfect. Let's jump into the questions and the comments on our YouTube. And if you're watching a recording of this after the live, you're wondering what's going on. Well, basically, all it is we answer your questions live here on our YouTube sessions. Regarding any matter in terms of Canadian immigration. And we have a few questions, Laura, so we're going to start with that, right? And let everyone know if they want to post something in Spanish, we can answer that on our live sessions as well.
Ok, vamos a pasar a responder las preguntas, tanto en inglés como en español, así que si hay alguna persona aquí de habla hispana que tenga alguna pregunta, puede hacerla perfectamente en español. Reza se va a encargar de responder en inglés y yo voy a dar esa respuesta en español, así que siéntanse libres de hacer preguntas y de resolver sus dudas.
Perfect. So some great questions here. So Almond says hello, hello back, Almond. And when we read your name or your question, please press the like button on your YouTube, and that is the way you will communicate with us. That we know you're there. We know you're listening, and we know we're communicating with you in live session. So Almond is saying, what is the new rules for startup visa program? It's a great question, Almond. There are no published new rules for startup visa program, and there's many people out there who've been waiting for some time for their permanent residencies or work permits to be processed. But there are unofficial trends and patterns that have occurred with startup visa processing with Canadian immigration that we will cover next week or the week after, potentially, maybe the week after, in a dedicated live session on the 2022 trends um, for startup visa. And there's a lot to talk about, so it'll be difficult for me to answer that right now. So go ahead, Laura. Maybe you can let our viewers know about that as well.
Ok, tenemos una pregunta acá de Almond. Él está preguntando cuáles son las nuevas reglas para la startup. Se refiere a, pues, para aplicar a lo de la startup visa. Y por el momento no hay como unas reglas oficiales para esa aplicación, pero sí hay, se podría decir como algunos patrones o algunos aspectos que se tienen que tener en cuenta. Y la verdad son bastantes. Entonces, de hecho, nosotros vamos a hacer un directo dentro de las próximas semanas, puede ser la otra o la siguiente, hablando sobre esos temas como los 20, si no estoy mal, patrones o aspectos que se tienen que tener en cuenta cuando se va a aplicar una startup visa. Así que pues las personas interesadas pueden estar también en ese directo y pues saber más que todo sobre ese tema.
Perfect, Laura. And we'll get to everyone's questions. Bikram, Lewis, everyone. Don't worry. And as I said, I'm going to read out your name and then your question. And please press the like button so we know you're there. We know you're listening during our live session. So Luis Alfredo Gomez Ayala says, good morning, Reza and Laura. Um, Good morning, Reza. Good morning, Laura. Thank you for keeping us informed. Thank you, Louis, for joining us. Thanks for the like, by the way. So he's asking, good morning, Reza and Laura. I will finish my program here in Canada, post-secondary, 1 year, a 1 year program in December. Can I start to study another program of 1 year again in the spring? So if I finish in December, start maybe 4 or 5 months later. Or could I get issues with my postgraduate work permit of 2 or 3 years? Okay, great question. So there's a follow-up question by Louis saying, how many months can I leave between one program and another program? So he means that how much gap is allowed between two programs of study. Thank you so much. Blessings. Thanks, Louis. Great question. And I think we should do a dedicated live about tricky little questions like that for international students, right? I think we should have a dedicated session for that. So if you do a 1 year program, as you know, you will get a 1 year postgraduate work permit, and it's discretionary by the officer. So they could give you 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, even 18 months. But usually we say 1 year to be on the safe side. You can enroll in another program and come and study a second program of 1 year. And if it's consecutive, then you will be eligible for up to a 3-year postgraduate work permit. The gap can be up to 150 days. Okay, so you finish in December, but you've already enrolled and received a letter of acceptance for spring. That will allow you to stay in the country, continue to work part-time, until your new program starts, and you can, obviously apply for a new study permit if your study permit expires. So 150 days is the allowed gap. You should already have your letter of acceptance for the second consecutive program. And when they're processing your postgraduate work permit after your second program, remember, you can only apply for postgraduate work permit once per lifetime. Okay, lifetime, folks. This is not per program, per visit. per passport. This is per lifetime. So you will do your 1 year, you will wait for a few months, you will do the second 1 year, then you will apply for postgraduate work permit. They will not count the gap in between as studying, so they will only consider the 2 times 1 year program. So I hope I've answered that question. Laura, go ahead. You can explain that also in Spanish.
Ok, tenemos una pregunta de Luis Alfredo Gómez Ayala. Él pues nos está diciendo buenos días, Reyes ahí Laura, buenos días, Luis. Y la pregunta es la siguiente. Si termina un programa de un año en diciembre, o sea, terminaría ese programa de un año en diciembre, ¿puede empezar a estudiar otro programa de un año en primavera, que vendría siendo abril, mayo? ¿O podría haber un problema con el PGWP de 2 o 3 años? Porque normalmente si uno estudia un programa de un año, pues tiene un PGWP de un año, o sea, un permiso de trabajo después de graduarse de un año, pero si estudia dos programas de un año, ya podría conseguir un permiso de trabajo de 2 o 3 años. Entonces él está preguntando si hay un problema de que haya algún lapso o algún hueco entre un programa y el otro, y está preguntando cuántos meses puede dejar entre un programa y el otro programa. Así que lo que nos estaba diciendo Reza es que normalmente se puede dejar 150 días de tiempo de lapso entre un programa y el otro, siempre, siempre y cuando se tenga en cuenta la carta de aceptación. Porque igual muchas veces empiezan en diferentes partes o fechas. Entonces, lo que hay que tener en cuenta son los 150 días de hueco, como de lapso que se puede dejar entre un programa y el otro. Y pues también hay que tener en cuenta que como el PGWP es solamente una vez en la vida, se puede aplicar una vez en la vida, toca pues aprovecharlo lo mejor posible. Así que la respuesta vendría siendo 150 días que se tienen que tener en cuenta.
Perfect, Laura. Thank you. So we have another question by Bikram Bisunke from the UAE. So whenever I read out your name and question, please press the like button so we know you're there, we know you're listening, and that's the only way of communicating with you during our live session. So Bikram says, "Hi Reza, I just received my letter from the embassy in the UAE, UAE being the United Arab Emirates, and my work permit was refused. And the reason is I can't. They stated on the letter is that I will not leave Canada after my work permit." And I don't have any relatives in Canada, so that means ties to Canada. Reza, if you give me your email address, I'll send the letter for you, which I received from the UAE embassy. So Bikram, you don't need to send that letter because this is a generic letter. This letter is issued for many people who refuse, that they don't believe you will return back to your home countries. There's not enough sufficient ties to Canada, and so on. Okay. So we have to know. So this is standard. I mean, work permits getting refused. It happens. Obviously, not everybody gets approved. But you have to tell us, Bikram. If you're there, press the like button so we know we're talking to you live. What type of work permit did you apply for? So this is important when you're posting your question. Please let us know what kind of work permit. Is it a spousal open work permit? Is it a postgraduate work permit from outside of Canada? Is it an LMIA based work permit? Is it an LMI exempt work permit? Is it, what? There's a lot of types of work permits. So if you let us know what kind of work permit it is, we'll tell you what the chances are of you potentially reapplying or taking and appealing this refusal. Laura, do you want to do that? And we'll wait for Bikram to actually update us on the comments regarding what kind of work permit he's applied for.
Okay. Well, I think that maybe in Spanish is not.
In terms of the refuse, no, you can just mention that somebody got refused work permit from the UAE, and we're asking that what kind of work permit it is, because the letter that they issue is really generic, right? It's like, oh, you were refused because of these, and everyone gets these types of letters. So we really need to understand more about the case, what kind of work permit application. And what we usually do is we apply for the officer notes from the embassy, which might take 1 to 2 months to receive before we really know what's happening. So that's our analysis of the case.
Ok. En este momento voy a hacer como un breve resumen de lo que estaba diciendo Reza, como para que se mantengan al tanto. Y es que hay una persona que está preguntando, nos está comentando que recibió una carta de rechazo y es de Emiratos Árabes Unidos. Entonces, el rechazo fue el permiso de trabajo y les estamos preguntando qué tipo de permiso de trabajo tenía para poder brindar pues, la mejor solución. Aunque normalmente cuando hay un rechazo, lo mejor son solicitar las notas para conocer bien las razones del por qué se hizo ese rechazo.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura. So we've got a few other comments here. So Luis Alfredo Gomez Ayala says, thank you so much, Laura and Reza. No problem, Luis. Mohammed Shiraz. So when I read out your name, please press the like button so I know you're there and listening. Otherwise, there's no point of answering the questions, right? So Mohammed Shiraz is saying, hi, I'm applying for visitor visa through the new portal, which was introduced after September 7th, 2021. Is this the fastest way and only way to apply for visitor visa? Instead of reapplying, can I go for a spousal open work permit? You can. The visitor visas are usually quicker, but the spousal open work permits can take several months. However, you have to look at your own case, whether a visitor visa would help you and the likelihood of success, or a spousal open work permit. So there's no one answer for every case. There's no one solution for everyone. Therefore, you need to be looking at your own case profile and deciding to apply for a visitor visa. That's the portal you have to use. If you do want to do a spousal open work permit, then you just go through another regular GC key account. So hopefully that would answer the question. Do you want to do that, Laura, as well in Spanish?
Yeah, I can explain it fast. Otro comentario es de Mohamed
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shiraz. Él está diciendo que aplicó a la visa de turismo, visa visitante, a través del nuevo portal el 7 de septiembre y si hay alguna forma más rápida o es la única forma. Y en lugar de volver a aplicar, si puede aplicar al permiso de trabajo de pareja. Y la respuesta es, bueno, si aplicó por el nuevo portal es como la forma más rápida para la visa de turismo y si es posible aplicar para el permiso de trabajo de pareja, pero normalmente suele tomar muchos más meses y mucho más tiempo que la visa de turismo. Ya depende del caso en el que se encuentre, en el caso de la persona o el perfil de la persona para poder saber qué es mejor.
Perfect, perfect. So we have some more questions and comments. So it's Lisan Tropo 78 says, hi guys. And remember everyone, when I read out your name and question or comment, just press the like button so we know you're there and listening live. Hi guys, good morning. Everything is moving and hopefully we'll see you soon. That's good. Thanks, Alvaredejo, right? Laura, it's your client,
Yes,
right?
it's our client.
So that's yeah, yeah. So it's good. Thank you, Alvaredejo. It's good to see you online, and hopefully, yeah, we'll see you soon here in Canada. Hopefully, not too soon because you don't want to come here in the freezing weather with all the snow. I'm sure you want to come in spring to enjoy the nicer weather. Nobody enjoys this weather that we have right now. So we have another question. Manushri Dingari. Hi, sir. My application was applied at August 2021. Still no update for the global skills strategy work permit. You have to ask your employer here to put pressure on the member of parliament. You have to have them apply, send an email to the embassy. You have to have this pressure going on IRCC. If you don't put pressure, all you'll be doing is waiting. Thanks for the like. And how are they? So another question by Manushri is, how are they clearing backlogs? It's slow. Same system, same people. They're just not accepting more, new express entry applications from outside. They're just trying to use the same resources to process their backlogs. And sometimes it's done in bulk, and that's why you get a lot of refusals in some regions. However, don't expect any miracles from immigration in Canada because they are backlogged, they have limited resources, and there's too many applications for them to process on time. Right, Laura?
Right, totally.
Yeah. So we have a question here. So I will take that. I will let you know. Thank you. Okay. So Bikram says, I'm watching you live doing my work, and I'll respond to you later. No problem, Bikram. Totally understand. There's a Spanish comment or question. Rosalba Ayala. Can you read that and explain to everyone what it says, Laura?
Yes, sure. There is a comment. I will read it in Spanish and then in English. Hola Rosalba, ¿cómo estás? Estás diciendo
Okay.
buen día, Reza y Laura. Buen día. Gracias por un día más de directos y por toda la información tan valiosa que nos dan. Bendiciones y éxitos. Muchísimas gracias, Rosalba y a la Luna. She is saying good morning, Reza and Laura. Thanks you for another day of life and
Yeah.
for all the valuable information you give us. Blessing and success.
Great. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Rosalba. I appreciate it. I mean, me and Laura are here to help everyone on Tuesdays afternoons and Thursdays mornings, but in our time zone here, East Coast North America. So you can check what time that is in your local home, because if you're overseas, in some countries it's midnight or evening time. So that'll be all for us today, Laura. And thanks for joining us, everyone. We will have our next Tuesday, which is predictions of 2022 for all the new and existing programs for Canadian immigration. So make sure you tune in on Tuesday afternoon, where we will have our 2022 predictions. And folks, if you've been watching us for like the last 8 months, you will know our predictions are not bad. They're not 100% correct, but you do get a slight idea of what to expect with Canadian immigration, if anything at all. And
Okay.
thanks, Laura. So let everyone
Uh,
know what we're doing next Tuesday. And
sure.
any other comments, Laura?
No, for the moment, no, and I will explain the topic for the next Tuesday. Hola a todas las personas de
Yes,
habla
and then
hispana.
we'll
Ya creo que vamos a estar finalizando. Bueno, tenemos una pregunta, pero ya vamos a estar finalizando el directo luego de responderla. Y nuestro tema de la próxima semana del martes son predicciones para el 2022 en programas nuevos o ya existentes. Entonces vamos a estar haciendo como predicciones de qué puede pasar, qué cambios pueden haber y que la idea es que ustedes sepan qué pueden esperar para este 2022. Probablemente estas predicciones no sean 100% verídicas o verdaderas porque pues son predicciones, pero nos vamos a intentar aproximar a lo que probablemente va a estar sucediendo en Canadá y en todo lo relacionado con inmigración.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. And the last question by Joseph. I'm just going to give you a quick answer, Joseph. Yes, you reapply, and you can put an explanation that you've applied before and you have not received a response, and you can withdraw the previous application. So send a withdrawal request for through web forms, but you can reapply through the new portal. Whether they give you a response on the withdrawal soon is a different matter, but yes, you can use the new portal and you can explain there as well in a small one pager or few paragraphs even. Thanks, Laura, for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. Reza from Toronto, Laura from Colombia, Ingwe Immigration. And we're here every Tuesday afternoon and Thursday morning in your region. Make sure you check the local time zones. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week for our 2022 predictions. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Reza. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Bye bye.
Yes.